Welcome back, everyone. In the UK, members of Parliament recently voted against opening an investigation into the Muslim grooming gang scandal. For those of you who need a reminder, that's where, in places like Rotherham alone, conservative estimates say approximately 1,400 children were sexually exploited from 1997 to 2013. The scale and brutality of all of that is as shocking as it is infuriating. But why did it go on as long as it did? Because there were some complications. You see, first, the victims were primarily white women and girls, and the perpetrators, well, most of them look like this: an extraordinarily virtuous, protected class of brown-skinned people, refugees even, from Muslim countries like Pakistan. So in the interest of protecting political agendas and, above all, not being called racist Islamophobes, authorities in Britain ignored all of it. Frequently, the victims themselves were criticized and silenced. You see, they were some of the most dangerous threats to the utopia of European multiculturalism. Eventually, reporters got curious, books and articles were written, and we know to some extent what happened, but we'd like to know more by having, maybe an investigation, like the one that got voted down. During the debate, Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch accused Labour of a cover-up, wonder why, for refusing a new inquiry, arguing that no comprehensive investigation had been conducted into the racial or cultural aspects of the crimes. Choosing not to investigate these grooming gangs, again, drew some international criticism and ripped the scab off of an old wound, and rightly so. The authorities responsible for all of this are evil and dangerous. Many of them remain in power, suffering no consequences. The pattern repeats itself in various ways throughout the West. The religion of Islam presents many dangers. Most Western leaders choose to ignore them or actively deny them, because their demented worldview demands it. This is one of the most important lessons Western leaders can learn from what's happening in Britain. Don't turn your countries into safe havens for Islamists who hate your way of life and want to end it. That's something like what's going on in the U.S. A human encyclopedia of Islamic terrorism named Sarah Adams has warned that there are about 1,000 al-Qaeda fighters in the U.S. preparing for the next homeland attack, which she says will very likely occur in 2025. She made that claim on a podcast called The Sean Ryan Show. The same podcast had another guest recently who confirmed the 1,000 terrorist number. Hooray for open borders, but added the nuance that there are also more facilitators that we have to account for as well. If you care about the threat of Islamic terrorism, you'll want to watch those videos. I've linked them in the description box. So through podcasts and other non-traditional media, millions of people now know that Islamic terrorism is a major imminent threat to the U.S. And if expert opinions weren't enough, we had the Islamic terrorist attack on January 1st as a reminder of what's coming up. No, wait, that wasn't Islamic terrorism.
This is not a terrorist event.
That's how it goes, right? From the rape gangs of Britain to the jihadists in the U.S., people claim the problem is not related to Islam until they're absolutely forced to acknowledge that it is. It's always the same. What also hasn't changed on the other side is that militant Islamists are in it for the long game, following in the steps of their prophet, who said he was commanded to fight until everyone says there's no God but Allah. Only then will their blood be safe. The long game that the Islamic Army is playing is critical to keep in mind. It goes right back to Muhammad and stretches far into the future. While some things haven't changed, much has. The old adage of, well, this group is Shia and that one's Sunni, so they don't really get along, that doesn't apply anymore. Instead, a single Islamic army is what people like Sarah Adams are warning about. They're intent on establishing a worldwide caliphate, complete with a full implementation of the devil's personal legal code, better known as Sharia law. But before that comes the 2025 attack involving about 1,000 terrorists, if Sarah and other analysts like Scott Mann are correct. Now, at this critical time, you might ask if U.S. leaders have learned anything about dealing with the Islamic problem from Britain's egregious mistakes. So far, the response to these threats from three-letter agencies in the U.S. has been mostly nothing. I can only hope when an attack occurs, the FBI will be there to tell us all that it wasn't terrorism. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.